Hi guys and welcome. gnembon here with a follow-up to our recent fun farms, which was mainly about blaze farming using their wandering and pathfinding to get them to one spot. I received tons of good feedback from all of you, so in this video I want to review some of the alternate designs and maybe we can come up with something even more effective in terms of convincing blazes to go where we want them to go. One thing before we start, the efficiency understood as how many blazes and blaze rods we can get from a farm is always the same for any design, providing we remove promptly all the blazes from the spawner range immediately after they spawn. Also, as a design, this farm behind me is quite simple, but if you end up with a blaze spawner in the middle of a blob of the netherrack, it might take you quite some time to clean up the area required for this farm to work effectively. So for demonstration purposes, we will be using our mod where wandering is sped up 1000 times. So first, what I wanted to show is this concept by Redstone Jazz, where he created a few spots around the farm where the blazes could path to. In our corner design, we made the blazes wander to the trap, but we limited the available path to the minimum. It ends just behind the trap to maximize the number of target blocks. In Jazz's concept, there's fewer target locations, but it allows the blazes to have a complete path to the target that goes through the trap. And quite surprisingly, which I didn't expect, they are allowed to make quite long paths to locations that are even very close to them at the start. Today, as suggested by a few of you, I'll be combining these two philosophies to make even more effective AI blaze trap. Another design worth mentioning is this variation of my Zuma Blaze farm by Alias, where after funneling them to one line, they are left alone again to funnel to one spot. This design might not be as effective in bringing blazes to a single location, but as I mentioned at the beginning, the efficiency or the output will be exactly the same, 501 blazes per hour. What can be done to improve the effectiveness of this farm is to encourage wandering by filling up the floor with blocks, up to 7 blocks down to create more targets for pathfinding. A few comments I got about this block. Can I remove it? The thing is, the spawner itself with this block prevents blazes to spawn in the very center and its close vicinity on all 3 levels where a spawner can spawn mobs. In fact, there's 12.96% chance that the blaze will attempt spawning colliding with any of these 2 blocks. Obviously we cannot remove the spawner, but by removing the block above, we can get a third of these blazes back, which is about 4.3%. Is it worth it? Possibly, but the risk is the fact that if we end up with more than 2 blazes hanging up there, the spawner will take fewer spawn attempts because it caps its spawn attempts to 6 blazes total. We can show it by placing 5 blazes here, and now the spawner would be able to spawn only 1 at a time. So since it's actually quite likely to get 3 of them up top, it's not worth it. You could possibly place a mob in a minecart, a horse for example, instead of a block, but this wouldn't be a permanent solution as spawning blazes would eventually push it out of the place. So to combine Redstone Jazz concept with full destination paths with mine concept of creating as many target blocks as possible, we will use this setup that would allow us to test a few things first. So I knew that the blazes will attempt to search for a path to get closer to the wandering target, but the range of these attempts seems to be immense. Now there's no target as all the blocks are not solid. But for instance, if you place a target here, obviously this blaze here is already very close to it. But moving to one of these spots will make him even closer. To show that making a complete path to the closer point to the target is actually what these blazes have in mind, let's break the path in 2 places, and now they will path to the glass. To show that there is a limit to this madness, if I break a path here and create a target here, so they would need to go all the way around the farm, it will actually use 2 of their attempts to get trapped. So there are limits to the path length, but they seem to be long enough to allow us to place target blocks even on this side of the farm. So I've created a solid blob of green glass where all your solid blocks like netherrack would be if all the terrain around your farm was made of it. I started carving where you need to have transparent blocks, signified here with this white stained glass. So to trick them to path towards the blocks below with the farm, I created a staircase that leads to the area just below the spawner, 2 high and 1 block wider than the spawner area. And all of these blocks can make a target that is closer than any of the spots in the farm area. And to show that it is the case, we can leave that block and block the path so blazes wouldn't be able to pass through this area below. And if I eventually clear the path, they will go to the trap again. To make use of all the blocks on the sides of the spawner area, we have this walkway around the farm like in the AI-based witch farm I showed last time. This makes all the spots on the path around at least closer to any spot in the farm area, if they choose any of these blocks as their targets. So we are not allowing them to finish the path, but make a complete path to put them closer to the target they have chosen, or the target that we have chosen for them. Also keep in mind that mobs can pathfind through block corners, regardless if it makes sense or not. So if I remove these two blocks here, they would think a shorter path leads through here. And as soon as I block it, they will continue to go around it. Cool stuff, isn't it? So if you end up with a spawner like this one, making a corner design is a good choice, because the area is already cleared up, and our effectiveness of moving them out will be decent. In the high 80s here in the center, getting into 90s close to the corner, and in the 60s, 50s on the other end. But if you want to build in the middle of the netherland and improve somewhat the effectiveness of leading the blazes to the trap, we can build something like this. As you can see, unlike in previous designs, I used tons of redstone in this build. Just kidding. But I used redstone dust to prevent mobs from spawning. Remember that we are likely within the bounding box of a fortress, and don't want skeletons and some random blazes spawning here and aggravating our inmates. So to prevent them from spawning and still allowing pathfinding, I used various redstone components here, like dust and buttons. And if we check the chances for them to wander anywhere we check, we have full 100%. Meaning it will take this farm a little bit faster to collect the blazes, and we saved a whole lot of digging. And this is the same concept in 1.11 compatible cramming save version. Notice that the blazes below have no place to pathfind, so they concentrate close to the trapdoors, allowing us to get rid of them while keeping them in a large containment area. Oh, and don't forget to keep the fire particles off if you want to keep your frame rate in double digits. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, share and subscribe if you haven't done it already, and see you in the next one. Bye bye!